Summer break was finally over, and like every fall semester, my classroom was filled with eager first-year students excited to start college. I walked up to the front of the room, ready to offer what I thought would be a profound educational experience for these young minds. Class seemed to be going as planned, attendance done, my witty introduction complete, and then on to the syllabus. But what I didn't know is that I was about to go down a path that would open my eyes to a whole new way of thinking. It happened when I was discussing the 10 hours of community service required for the course. Now, my former students loved to be able to earn credit for volunteering, but this group didn't seem as excited. It wasn't their overall lack of enthusiasm that caught me off guard. It was one question from a student, a clarification question that really challenged me. The student raised her hand and asked if she could count the hours that she spends running her nonprofit organization toward the 10 hours required for the course. Well, I was a bit taken aback, and without having anything better to say, I said, "Of course, and anyone else running a nonprofit, you can use those hours too." Heads nodded. At that moment, I realized that these 17 and 18-year-olds were already making a difference in their communities in larger ways than I ever expected. And my 10-hour community service assignment was likely not going to be the transformative experience I imagined. These students were craving opportunities for longer, deeper involvement where they could work towards creating meaningful change. Then it made sense to me. I had learned over the summer that a new group of students was coming to college that year, Generation Z, the post-millennial generation. Well, it was obvious they had arrived, and they had their own ideas about how they wanted to make the world a better place. That was 4 years ago, and most of those students graduated this last spring. Now our colleges, high schools, and elementary schools are filled with 7 to 22-year-olds, all part of Generation Z. These young people are growing up in an incredibly unique time in history. We have driverless cars, personalized medicine, and wars without borders. Most have used tablets and smartphones nearly their entire lives, having spent countless hours of their teen years texting and posting and streaming and surfing and linking and liking and pinning and poking and tweeting and blogging and friending and sharing, and they do even more of it as young adults. But Generation Z is far more than a reflection of their digital behavior. Consider this. On 9/11, the oldest were in kindergarten, and most weren't even born yet. For them, growing up in a post-9/11 world can feel scary and unsafe. Their childhoods have also been marked by a major recession where families lost homes and parents lost their jobs. These events likely shaped the values and characteristics of Generation Z, as many tend to be pragmatic and inventive, filled with a great sense of responsibility and compassion. And while not everyone in Generation Z fits this mold, research on this cohort suggests some key trends about the concerns, motivations, and aspirations of many of them as they enter into young adulthood. So thinking back to my community service assignment, I realized something significant about this generation. Many of those in Generation Z don't come out on their own to participate in community service. Not because they don't want to contribute, but because their way of contributing is different. Instead of volunteering, many would rather tackle the very problems causing the need for volunteering, essentially making volunteerism unnecessary altogether. Take an issue like hunger. In their minds, although they know the importance of volunteering at a food bank, many would rather use their time, energy, and resources to work towards creating a sustainable solution that ensures everyone has access to enough healthy food. But it isn't just our system of volunteerism that doesn't seem to be working for them. It's also our political system. When the 2016 presidential election came around, I was hoping that my socially conscious Generation Z students would flock to the polls. But they didn't, at least not a lot of them, as evidenced by polling data. Now, youth traditionally vote at lower rates than their older counterparts. But with so many in Generation Z who want to make an impact, why didn't more of them vote? Do we not provide enough rides or polling places on college campuses? Surely increasing access is important, but it turns out the issue is much deeper. Those in Generation Z are wary of the whole political system as it stands. Many are concerned that corruption and greed and partisanship are making it nearly impossible to address important issues. One Gen Zer says it best, We can tackle the biggest problems our society faces if we care less about how people identify and move past problems like which bathroom should they use, and instead focus on issues like how can we conserve water in said bathrooms. And if their skepticism of the system isn't enough, feeling unrepresented by any political party might just be. Many in Generation Z identify as socially liberal, yet financially moderate to conservative, which doesn't seem to fit with either mainstream party, or even an existing third party. So while we should keep motivating them to vote, like volunteerism, the cure for their disengagement is not simply trying to re-engage them in a system that doesn't seem to work for them. We need to embrace these young change agents, even when they challenge the very systems that many of us have worked so hard to build and maintain, because maybe Generation Z can do it better, making social change the new volunteerism or two-party politics a thing of the past. But what's interesting is that not only are they disrupting these systems, at the same time they're working right around them, finding other ways to make a difference. For one, Generation Z embodies a great entrepreneurial spirit. Nearly half of them plan to start their own businesses in the future. But being an entrepreneur is more than just about being their own bosses or taking control of their career paths. It's a way to leverage their passions to create social change. See a problem, create a business, and work towards a solution. And they're not trying to create the next mega company. Many would just like to have a small business that focuses on an issue that they care about. Because for them, making a difference is far more important than making money. One Gen Zer says, I want to help others and impact them for the better. Clearly, I will need to financially support myself, but that's not why my heart will be in it. Like the founder of Me and the Bees Lemonade, who launched her own company after entering a children's business competition at age 4. But her business is more than just about selling lemonade. By donating a portion of her profits to help save the honeybees, for her, it's a way to make a difference. And then consider that nearly 40% of those in Generation Z intend to change the world by developing an invention. Well, that's an ambition we can all be inspired by. But like entrepreneurship, they're not necessarily looking for fame and fortune. They want to design and build new technologies to address the issues they care about and solve the world's complex problems. Like a group of high school students in Australia. When they learned that the price of a critical anti-malaria drug went from $13.50 a pill to $750 in the US, they recreated the drug's key ingredient at a much lower cost right in their school lab. And while they're likely not going to be able to sell this drug anytime in the US, the inventive spirit of these teenagers just shows that this isn't a generation that's going to sit back and wait for others to develop a solution. Generation Z is that rare generation, positioned in a time when I believe we need them most, challenging our systems in unexpected ways. And despite our hesitance and, well, maybe even fears, we need to embrace their desire for change and cultivate their passions, because having them do it their way may be exactly what will save us all.